Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's meetup. My name is Dalia. I'm from Elastic's community team. And today we're going to hear about the technical deep dive into the Elastic Agent and Ingest Manager from Nicholas. And I just wanted to let you know that this will be recorded and uploaded to the YouTube channel of the Elastic community. You can watch it there afterwards. Also, we're always looking for cool talks. So if you want to be one of our speakers, please let us know. And we're going to take all of the questions in the end. Thank you. And Nicholas, go ahead.
Thank you, Dalia. Let's directly kick it off. So welcome everyone to the meetup. This is actually my first virtual meetup. As a few of you are going to know, I normally run meetups in person in Switzerland. So let's see how that goes today. It's a bit different, not seeing the faces directly. But yeah, I think we also have a Q&A section where you can put all the questions so we get a chance to answer them at the end. So let's directly jump in. For the agenda, in the beginning, I can throw some topics at you about things that we do and are new. Then I'm going to combine them in a live demo. The demo gods are going to be with us. And then I give you a technical overview over everything we talked about and how things work. And hopefully in the end, we get a bit time for questions and discussions. Quickly about me, I'm an engineer at Elastic for about 5 years now. I'm the tech lead on the ingest management project, which is basically everything we talk about today. I'm really excited to talk about it because so far I didn't really have the chance. We just shipped the first version in 7.8. It's actually the first time I talk in public about it. I'm based in Switzerland, and if you want to contact me online on GitHub, Twitter, almost any other place, it's always on the Rooflin. So let's get started. What it's all about. So about a year ago, we kind of start to rethink, reimagine how to ingest data into the Elastic Stack. We went through many cycles, and what I'm going to present today is what we landed on for 7.8, 7.9. So let's start with the teasing on what changed. And keep an eye on all the bits. It's going to be a lot today because there are a lot of different parts. I hope especially the demo in the middle is going to give you a chance to see how it all works together and how the parts are connected. So first thing, beats to Elastic Agent. I hope a few of you are actually using beats. File beat for logs, metric beat for metrics, or any other beat like heartbeat, audit beat. And they have grown over the years massively. One issue we encountered more and more is like there are more and more beats. It means you have to manage more and more. So one thing we did with the Elastic Agent is actually taking all these beats and have a single agent, the Elastic Agent, which is going to run the beats for you. How that works, I'll cover later in technical details. So future is one agent. Modules to integration, next one. If you worked with beats, there's a concept of modules, like an Nginx module for logs and one for metrics, an Apache module. What it does, it knows how to collect the data, how to process it, and ship it to Elasticsearch. In the future, we're going to have integrations, I call it here. You're going to see it later in the technical part as packages. And if you look at it historically, it was file beat setup. The module is fully packaged with the beat itself. All the assets are there. The beat talks to Elasticsearch to load the asset. That's going to change. It's all going to be in a registry and in Kibana directly. So it's not like you have to figure out which agent, which beat is now going to do the setup, how often, prevent race conditions. It's in a central place. Config UI. Who doesn't like YAML? It's always fun to have errors about indentation. A config today for file beat looks like on the left side. What we built is actually a UI on top of that, not on top of file beat config, but on the agent config. So you can have you're going to have two options. You can configure by YAML, or you're actually going to be able to use a UI in the future to build your configuration. In most cases, things just work out of the box. As you see later in my demo, you can just path and all the things in the UI directly. and it's going to be shipped to the agent. So from YAML to UI. Obviously, the YAML is going to stay around, don't worry. Next one, central management of the agent. I'm pretty sure if you have 5, 10, 100, or 10,000 of beats, you're going to use Ansible, Puppet, Chef, or any of these deployment tools to manage them. That's not going to go away. Many of you are going to keep that, but we're going to give you an additional alternative. It's the fleet central management. You're going to be able from Kibana directly to manage your beats, your agents. You're going to see the status, you're going to see which configuration they have. You're even going to be able to upgrade the agent directly. Next, we're going to change password to API keys. I'm pretty sure if you have 10,000 agents, you didn't create 10,000 passwords. You're going to reuse the same one. If it leaks in one place, you basically have a problem. You're going to have to redeploy all the agents. With API keys becoming more and more important in the Elastic stack, the agent itself is all going to be based on API key. The enrollment of an agent is going to be based on an API key, and afterwards, each agent actually gets a set of 2 API keys, one to talk to Elasticsearch and one to talk to Kibana. So if one agent is acting up, you just invalidate that API key and is not going to be able to talk to Elasticsearch or Kibana anymore. If the key was leaked, you're not going to disable all the other agents. So things keep working. So these are now a lot of concepts that change. Single agent, we get integrations, configuration UI, central management, API keys. Let me show how it looks in reality. So what we see here, I hope it works. It's actually a completely fresh Elastic Stack instance on our cloud. Let's explore on our own. So the new tool that we're going to talk to today is the Ingest Manager down here. So let's click on it and have a look. So you already see a few tabs here. We have the integrations, which are like Nginx, Apache that we're going to manage. We have the configurations. We're going to have configuration for the agent. We have our fleet, which is our 10, 100,000 of agents, and the data sets, which is our data. So first, to get started, let's start shipping data. No easier way to do that than actually add an agent. And actually first asks us, you really want to enable fleet. Fleet is really powerful. So when you agree, you're a super user, you can actually enable it. So it's available for you in the future. So let's do that again. We actually have download here an agent. Let me see if I have one. Yes, I do. Let's go in here. And then what it's going to do is it's going to show me directly my enrollment command. And you probably saw it already here on the right side. Before I hit enter, we have on the end here, cloud URL, and then the API key, that enrollment key. So let's hit enter. It's going to ask me, do I really want to write all the local configuration? Yes, of course. Let's do it. It's going to send a message to Kibana to actually enroll. And here on the right side, what you can see, oh, actually something showed up. So I'm going to copy this and hit continue. So we're now in a state of enrolling, but the agent is not there yet. So let's also enroll. So we now started the agent. It's going to start talking to Kibana pretty soon here on the left side. It should update and say, okay, the agent is there. Oh yeah, okay, we have a default configuration. We have an enrolling agent. Let's have a look what is actually in that configuration. Every time you run Ingest Manager, I mean, the first time you run it, it's going to build a default configuration for you, which contains just system metrics like CPU, memory, RAM, and that's what we have here. So it's very easy, just get started. It tells us also it's used by one agent. And let's have a quick look. We have already some data. Hopefully we do. Yes. Also going back to configuration we see on that agent, it was last updated. Sorry, 29 seconds ago. So let's go to data, and we see we have a bit of logging data from the agent itself, and we have the system data. Let me zoom in here. So, okay, we have that data. That's nice, but let's look at some dashboards and see what is happening on my machine, because right now, actually, I'm monitoring my machine. Okay, here we see the overview. I'm pretty sure if you look at the processes, you see it's actually running pretty high on my end. Zoom and all the parts of my machine don't combine well. See Zoom.us down here. So you can ask, like, how did all these dashboards get loaded? Do they get shipped with Kibana? Actually, they don't. So let's take a step back and have a look. One tab we didn't look at yet is the integrations. We see here, we have a few integrations. And down here, we actually have the system integration. This is the one that gets installed by default, but it's pulled down from a registry. More about how that works later on. To give you another example, so right now, we only have system, but let's say I want to monitor Nginx. We have an Nginx integration, which is great. We can see here all the docs, we have some screenshots, how it works. So let's see what we can do. Let's monitor my Nginx. So first, it's going to ask me which configuration you want. I'm going to take the one I already have. There's one agent involved. We just saw that. Let's call that Nginx demo. Let's keep it open. So now there's one problem. Is actually my Nginx is running on OS X, the machine I'm currently running on. So that path here is for Linux, but I want to have it on this machine here. So I'm going to replace these paths. Stop ingress controller. I don't have any here. I disable that. For the metrics, I think I'm going to run on localhost 8080. And there's an advanced option just for demo. One thing I did is I'm actually running a different server status path for Nginx. So that looks good. Let's see what happens. Let's save that integration. So it can tell me, wait a minute, it's going to update one agent. So why not? Let's do that. So it's saving now. Successfully shipped it. We see in my configuration, I have now 2 parts for Nginx, for system. Let's have a quick look if it's already rolled out. Yes, it's already rolled out. Revision 2 is that machines. So dataset wise, let's have a look. Let's filter for Nginx. And we directly see we have new data. Error log, success log, stop data. So I assume that's going to be pretty empty. So let's do some reloading on my machine. Some errors is always good. And now that we've done that, let's see. Oh, there are a few dashboards. Let's have a look. So what actually happened when I hit save that configuration is that it went to the package registry, which is the web, pull down the package, install the dashboards, install the ingest pipelines, install everything that is needed, like index template 2 to ingest that data, then ship down to the agent started shipping up data. So let's have a look at these logs. Looks like there was a person that just requested many things. That was me. Location-wise, not going to be very interesting because it's just on my local host. We see server status, that's obviously what we pull down. And yeah, so we can do it again to build a bit more traffic. We can come back to that dashboard again later on. So let's go back to the integrations. So you see already, this list is not all our release. You see some in experimental, but this list is going to keep growing. So you're going to have to stop thinking about deploying on the beat a module. You actually get out of band new packages, new integrations to install and work with. Keep that in mind, the packages, the configuration up here, the data sets, which can tie into indexing strategy, and the agent plus configurations. So that was it for the demo. Let's quickly have a look here. We got new logs. Yeah, that worked. Perfect. Good. So let's go back to the presentation. What I'm going to give you now is a technical overview over all the things I just shown you. The main goal of our implementation was that you actually don't have to understand what I'm going to show you. But obviously, this is a meetup. You're here to see what is behind and how it works. So let's dive into it. This is an overview of all the components involved and that we built. Let's start first with what we saw. What we just saw is here, Kibana, the ingest manager, like fleet, the config builder, and the package manager, integration manager. What you didn't see but happened is that reaching out to the registry, pulling down a package and installing it in the stack, dashboards to Kibana, ingest pipeline, and templates to Elasticsearch. What you only saw on the side in my command line is the Elastic Agent, and you saw as a UI the agent config. Interestingly, what we're going to start with now is the new indexing strategy. You can ask, like, how is that related to all the other things? With releasing agent, we actually had a chance to rethink how we ingest data, how it's structured, and solve many issues that showed up over the last years with the current indexing strategy. So let's dive into it. What is the current indexing strategy? It's not that we ever published it as our indexing strategy, but basically all data goes in file beat dash star, metric beat dash star, and other beat dash star indices. In there, historically, you had daily indices, or you use rollover with ILM, but all logs data goes in index and all metrics data goes in index. About the assets, all the assets were loaded by beats. So the index templates was massive, the island polys was loaded. It was all on the edge. This caused quite a few problems over time. The first one we hit was 1 or 2 years ago, 1,024 fields max in a template, because Nginx, Apache, syslog, all these fields went into a single index. We had too many fields. So if you actually look at the template of beats today, it increases the limit there. The next problem is if you wanted to use ILM, you could decide to have one ILM policy for all your logs. Like you wanted to have a different ILM policy for your system logs and your access logs from Nginx. You had to be creative to make that happen. A part about performance, if you queried your data, Nginx access log data, you actually queried all your data all the time. Obviously, Elasticsearch has a lot of optimizations to, you didn't go through all the data. It quickly could detect which one you needed, but still, it was all touching the indices which contained data or not. Then the bootstrapping, like setup that we had before about dashboards and the ingest pipeline, that was sometimes tricky. You had 100 beats that tried to do the setup at the same time, potentially different versions. Which one did win? And last, let's be honest, not everyone liked file beat, the metric beat dash star. So users tried to change it. They used logs dash star, foo dash star, and that broke many things. First, dashboards, index patterns, many other things. So we took all these problems and we're rethinking on how we could change indexing. And what we came up with, we call the new indexing strategy, is basically indexes now consist of 3 parts. First, we have the type. It's a generic type, logs, metrics, traces probably come up in the future. It's basically the same as today, like logs and file beat and metric beat. That is the prefix. Second part is the data set. If you use beats and modules, you probably stumbled over that term, Nginx.access log. is, for example, data set, and it describes data with the same structure, with the same mapping. So what it means is that data, which has the same structure, which compresses better, can be queried together, is stored closely together. And the last part is the namespace. What we call the namespace is really the user configured part. So we predefine the first two, but the last one, you as a user can pick whatever you want. You can separate prod and testing. You can pick team 1, team 2. If you have Nginx logs from different systems that you really want to separate the data, you have a chance. So on the bottom, we see logs-nginx success.default. And there's also a generic default that if you don't have set a data set or namespace and just starting ingesting data, it goes to logs-generic-default. Some of you are going to say, wait, that creates a lot of indices. Yes, it creates many more indices, but we've been creative on the Elasticsearch side on how we're going to solve that challenge. More to that later, but first I want to show you how it's going to work. So with 7.9, Elasticsearch ships with 2 basic templates for logs and metrics. So you're not going to have the bootstrap problem anymore. Oh, I shipped data before the template was loaded. A very basic template that makes sure the basic ECS fields, ECS stands for Elastic Common Schema, are there, like the message field, the add timestamp field, and they're directly loaded by Elasticsearch. So there's no way they're going to be missing. And the second part about specifics to the data sets, like the Nginx access logs, that's what's going to be loaded by the ingest manager that we saw before when we said install that package. And interestingly, the agent now doesn't need any more the permission to load templates, to load ingest pipelines. Before, a beat that did the setup required that. Now the ingest pipeline is also directly attached to the index because we don't need to say anymore, oh, we have one massive index for Nginx success logs and syslog data, and we need to specify the index pipeline, ingest pipeline param. No, we can directly attach it to the index. So there was one big problem we had with this new indexing strategy. We couldn't build it on the existing feature in Elasticsearch. So we talked to Elasticsearch team, and this new indexing strategy actually became a great collaboration. The Elasticsearch team made it possible for us to implement what we needed and actually went way beyond it and came up with new, even better concepts than we initially thought of. So the first one is constant keywords. Constant keywords is basically a keyword that can only have one in value per index. What is that going to help? As I said before, we have many more indices. There are perhaps even frozen indices. But now with constant keywords, a query is not even going to need to open an index. It can tell on the metadata if that index is going to contain any Nginx success logs. So already pre-filtering is super efficient, and it's going to require, it's going to speed up queries pretty much. The second part was we struggled with the template inheritance in Elasticsearch because we had that new indexing strategy and we saw many stars. There was what we called accidental inheritance. And what we solved it with, the Elasticsearch team, they came up with the concept of components templates. So instead of inheriting templates, we can have multiple components that we can even reuse for a single template. And last, the most powerful feature is data streams. Data streams is a new way in Elasticsearch to index data. Instead of having to think about rollover, daily indices, and so on, it's all hidden behind the data stream. Some of you are going to remember, oh, that's what we have alias for. Yes, it works very similar, but it's a native feature to Elasticsearch. And so from the ingesting data perspective, we don't have to think about setup. Like, did we set up the alias at the right time? It's all just going to happen. If we set in a template, that's a data stream. Elasticsearch is going to do the rest for us. Just these three things, Elasticsearch are a talk on its own. And I hope one day we're going to have a separate talk about it. But let's get back to ingest management and the Elastic Agent. So the Elastic Agent is the agent to rule them all. How does it work? So it runs a managed process. It's basically a supervisor. Today, it runs metric beat, file beat, pretty soon endpoint, which is our security binary. Potentially in the future, any other beat, APM server. The communication happens through gRPC. So the Elastic Agent spins up, then either has already some binaries shipped, it can pull down binaries from the internet if it has to, through a lot of trust models we worked on. Obviously, security was a tricky part. Spins up the process, and then they have together a gRPC communication channel. The agent itself can run in two modes. What I showed you in the demo, we call managed by fleet. It is a managed mode. The configuration can only happen through ingest management. You're not going to be able to do change locally. The other mode is like you do with Beats today, standalone. You do all the configuration in YAML locally with your preferred system. That's going to stay. Is there a mixed mode between managed and standalone? No. We started thinking about, like, could you have part managed? Could you have standalone? Perhaps in the future, but things just got too complex. So there are only these two managed. Either you're fully managed or you're fully standalone. Configuration-wise, you see we brought together metric beat, file beat. More in the future is we have slightly changed the configuration format to have a unified configuration format. So if you configure logs and metrics, it should not be a completely different model. So you only need to learn one model on how to do configuration. Someone coming from Beat is going to be familiar with the syntax pretty soon. There are slight differences. And last, the feature I'm going to be most excited about is actually upgrade. It's going to be possible to tell in the future the agent to upgrade itself. So let's say you're 7.9, you want to upgrade all your agents. You're going to be able to do that centrally and tell the agent, go to Elasticsearch, pull down the most recent version, install it, check if everything is working, update your metric beat and file beat, whatever process it is. That is actually from a user perspective on the implementation detail, and it's running. I talked before about the Elastic Agent config. Let's quickly have a look on how it looks. It's a list of inputs. There are some metric inputs. There is a very generic log file input that we are aware. And what we took care of is that the feeling from the UI to the configuration in YAML feels very similar. So if we compare the UI we had on the right side before, and we have here on the left, this is actually the same thing. I must confess, I shortened it a bit to fit on the screen, but basically, if you have here the Nginx success logs for the Nginx data set, this is the same. So you can go forth and back between YAML and UI, and you have the same concepts. Now let's go to the other end of the stack. We talked about the Elastic Agent, the agent config, indexing strategy. Now let's talk about the package registry. This is an online service. It runs under EPR Elasticsearch. You can go there right now and hit /search. It's going to show you the packages available. This is what Kibana talks to pull down all the information about the packages. It knows, as you see, the package itself. In the end, it's just a Torchy zip. It's basically a zip file of multiple assets for the Elastic Stack. There is not a lot of magic in the registry itself, besides serving files. But it gives us a place to actually push these packages. And when we talk about the packages itself, they're all built in-house at the moment. The package itself contains the assets. What was previously in the module, dashboards, ingest pipeline, template, and all the package manager in Kibana does, it knows how to install them, how to upgrade them, and actually how to remove them too. It might be use Nginx today. Tomorrow, you're going to switch over to another technology. You're going to be able to remove all the assets. It's currently delivered as star gzip. That might change to zip in the future. In the end, implementation details. And one important thing is also logs and metrics are together. So it's not like previously you had logs, Nginx logs package, and an Nginx metrics package because they were together with metric beat and file beat. But in the future, there's one. So even if we say, okay, APM, we have APM for Nginx or MySQL, can be shipped in the same package. So you're not going to have to think, am I going to need logs and metrics or just one in the future? You have it there, it's ready. When you need it, you just enable it and it also starts shipping the data. Quick overview of the assets. I mentioned a few of them. On the left side, you see all the assets we support today. But of course, we have many ideas what we could support on the future. This is not a roadmap. We're thinking of ML jobs. We could even shoot sample data, alerts, action, canvas templates, sim rules. And I'm pretty sure you just thought of other assets you actually load into the Elastic Stack that you could see in a package. So a package, to summarize, is just a glorified zip with a manifest with the assets for the Elastic Stack inside. Not much magic there. And now the last bit I want to talk about is the configuration builder. That's what I showed you when I built the Nginx config. It's basically the glue that connects the packages and makes an Elastic Agent config out of it. Let's see how that works. So when we look at the package, it has a template inside for the agent configuration, for the stream part. In here, we have a few variables, like which path it should look at. And then the dataset manifest itself, also inside the package, contains variables. Anyone that looked at file beat modules in the past, that is going to look very familiar, but it basically says path that can be configured, there is a default for it. And what that does is it combines this information with these two informations and builds a configuration out of it. So where do these variables come from? So either it's going to pick the default, or in the case, if you use the UI or the API and you pass in additional variables, it's going to take your configuration here, puts it in that template I just showed you here on the left side, puts it together as one long config, ships it down to the agent, or your 10 agent, your 100 agent, you can have as many agents as you want for a single configuration, and deploys it. It's going to report back if it worked or not. If an agent, they complain, it cannot support it. So going back to, let me see, to that overview, I will show you that one. Again, we basically talked now about the configuration, how we build it, that we have multiple configurations, one or more with the blocks inside. We had fleet, which is the part that manages all your agents. At the moment, you have just one, which is a bit boring. We have the indexing strategy, which defines the data that is coming in here and allows directly to link to dashboards. That's, for example, one of the magics. And the integrations that we all have, MySQL, there are others, Kafka, custom log is, for example, a package that you can just use to ship your own logs that we don't know how they're going to look. You're going to know best. So that configuration can also happen. So what I just did here is also install all the templates that are needed for that, and it's done. So let's get to the last part, the FAQ that I want to take away. A few questions are probably going to pop up. How can I start using this? You're going to ask. So you can start using it already in 7.8, which is out. You're going to have to pass in, you have to spin up a cloud cluster or your local cluster, put in that configuration, download the Elastic Agent from our website and run it. It's experimental in 7.8, and soon in 7.9, it's going to be enabled by default. Next one is, do you have an API? Let's be honest, many of us are going to use the UI to try it out. And after it's like, we like that it's centrally managed by Kibana, but don't we want to do it through the API? Everything I showed you can be done through an API. So any feature we build is API based. So you can enroll agents, you can change configuration, you can install packages, all API based. And last, about the indexing strategy, why did you tell us about it if it's only for the agent? No, the indexing strategy is a more generic concept that can actually apply to all time series data that is ingested into Elasticsearch. Do you have to use it? No. But if you start using or think about using it, have a look, because in the end, this predefined structure also allows us to do more matching on it. Perhaps, for example, we can detect their Nginx logs. We can do store processing it for you and these kind of things, or link dashboards to the right place. So it's a generic concept. Have a look. Again, try it out. Go to discuss, tell us if you like it, if you don't like it, if you find bugs, tell us, we're happy to fix it. See where we're heading with that. So I think it's time to jump to question. On my end, figuring out how Q&A works on the Zoom. Let me see.
Thank you very much, Nicholas. Can you see the Q&A section? Should be under.
I'm trying to find my Zoom video. Oh, here we go.
Sorry, can you see the questions there?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right.
Okay, I'll start at the top.
Yeah.
Do I need to click somewhere?
No, I'm gonna do it. You just answer.
Sweet. So the question is, where does Logstash fit in now? It's actually still the same place. So the historical question was basically, where's Beats and where's Logstash? So Beats is really on the edge. That's also where the agent is going to be. And Logstash is more and more became over time that heavy processing engine. Agent doesn't have a Logstash output at the moment. It's probably going to have one very soon. And in some cases, Logstash is still the powerful part to do processing, which ingest pipelines cannot do. So the role of Logstash is not going to change at all. It's mainly that we have now a supervisor that can run all the beats.
Cool, great. I'm going to mark it as done. All right.
So the next one is about if Kibana pulls down from the registry and distributes the agents. Oh yeah, if the agent contact the registry or not. No, the agent don't talk to the registry. It's Kibana pulls down the packages, caches them locally, builds the configuration, and then directly ships to the agent. So the agent talks to Kibana and Kibana talks to the registry. The agent itself actually doesn't even know about packages. It's like the agent itself is basically becoming more and more dumb. It doesn't know about ingest pipelines. It doesn't know about the indexing strategy. It just gets all the configuration.
All right.
Good. Next one. Is it only cloud version? Of course not. You can run it on your computer right now. I used the demo in the cloud because it just works and actually consumes less CPU on machine, so less risk with Zoom. No, any Elasticsearch version you have, 7.8, 7.9 in basic, it's there. Then the next one, Rob is going to ask, will we be able to create an internal repository for the modules? Yes, so we don't support that officially today, but we do that today for testing. So the registry, everything is open. It's under the basic license, but basically you can connect Kibana to any registry you want. It's, as I said, it's not supported today, but we do that for testing, for development, and we definitely have in mind, there are going to be environments where like, they definitely don't want to talk to an external server. So it's going to be possible to run it locally, to serve our package, but potentially also in the future, we're still figuring out how we do that. Serve your own package. I mean, let's be honest, it works today. You can put your package there, it's going to be served, but we need to have the whole workflow still figured out. So is it going to work? Yeah. How? Let's see.
Cool. Marking is done.
Okay, what about offline clusters without internet access? I think that got just answered, Bernard. Otherwise, please type again below if the one didn't help.
Okay.
Okay, so in fleet management, what happens if any of the host goes down after it has been enrolled? Will we be able to see the status of the agent, or will it just disappear from the fleet? Yes, you will be able to see the status. I didn't show that nicely probably in my demo. I mean, the only agent there was enrolled, but yeah, you can get the status. Some flakiness, we cannot work on that. Like, how do we detect if an agent is still available or not? Did it just reboot, or is it gone forever? So we're working with some timeouts and some logic. The agent actually checks in from time to time. So yeah, you're gonna see that an agent which is not properly unenrolled is going to have a special status.
Awesome.
Is FileBeat UI part of the ELK as well? I'm not sure what you refer to as FileBeat UI. If it's Ingest Manager, yes, it is part of 7.8, but you need to run it with that special config flag I showed before. Perhaps later on specify the question with some more details if possible.
Okay.
Good.
Next
What
one.
will become of the actual premium beats management feature? Does it mean this new ingest manager will also be a premium feature? So what I showed you today is all basic, and it's going to stay basic. What is going to happen to the Beat Central management feature we have today? Ingest management is going to replace it long term. Yeah, that's unfortunate, but yes, the idea is that all-in-one we have built now is going to replace Beat Central Manager. But yeah, what I showed you today is basic, so it's not paid.
All right.
So Bernhard is on fire. How to contribute to integrations? There is a repository. As usual, it's all public. Currently, it's /elastic/integrations where the integrations are. Do we accept community contributions? Of course. Have we fully figured out how it's going to work? I mean, it's a PR, and let's have a discussion there. But yes, I think the first part is right now it's kind of our integrations. I hope in the future we even get into the section what Rob asked before. What about your own package? What about your own integration? So not a very clear answer yet, but we get there. Right. So let's see what Mark is asking on top. Can there be groups that we can have agent versions configuration for different areas like dev stage process so we can upgrade rollout config separately and even more granular like application groups? Not today, but obviously it's something we're thinking about and we're probably going to need in the future to have different permission modules, who can change config, who can enroll agents, how we separate all of them. We started very simple. So what I showed you today is actually you need to be super user to use it, which is pretty limiting. But the direction, Mark, you're pointing is definitely something we're heading into. Step by step.
All right.
So, Val, I think I know that guy. So what happens to already installed assets, such as visualization dashboards when upgrading agent modules to new versions? Are they already concerned about standard dashboards which that have been customized somehow? So yes, the answer is it depends. For dashboards, they're overridden when you upgrade the package. What we work on with Kibana is actually to have read-only assets. It's unfortunate today, we cannot tell you that we're gonna overwrite them. In the future, we wanna basically prevent you from modifying them. If you wanna modify them, you get your own copy and can manage it yourself. But it's a feature Kibana doesn't support yet. It's a bit different, like index templates get overwritten, ingest pipelines are versioned because of upgrade. Like there's a whole process behind on how we do upgrades, how we keep sanity. So it really depends on the assets, but visualization dashboards are removed and the new ones are installed.
All right.
So great clarification on the question. In the beginning of the session, it was mentioned that alternate UI method is available for FileBeat YAML. Is this feature available on ELK? I think That must be a misunderstanding. There is no there is no YAML UI or anything for FileBeat. It's just that for the agent, you can also just use standalone mode and put your YAML inside. And there is only the UI for the Elastic Agent for the packages or the log package I showed you at the end. What we think about is that in some cases, you probably want to put your raw YAML in there, and we could support that. And of course, YAML through the API is also going to be supported. But no FileBeat UI. Sorry if I misspoke there.
Okay, does anyone have any other questions?
If not, now's your chance. Come on. Okay.
Okay. Well,
Dalia,
thank you, Nicholas. Thanks for the awesome presentation, and thanks everyone for joining. We hope to see you again at our next meetup. Have a great evening, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Take care.